Welcome to the Sunday, May 14th edition of the PFF Forecast. We're going to break down Doc Rivers' defensive decision game plan for Game 7 against the Boston Celtics. No, I'm just kidding. We're going to guess some Week 1 lines. It's going to be great. We finally have them. They're all out, the entire schedule. So we'll hit on Week 1. And then we've got some PGA Championship picks from Brad as he's been grinding the film. And we have a new member of the Guess the Lines group this week, Judah Fortgang, making a triumphant return. Let's rock. Judah, you're back. I figure that the past couple of months you've spent just grinding every morsel of the upcoming possibilities for the NFL season, and you're ready with full breakdowns of each matchup. Is this correct?
That's exactly right. Just like Mike McCarthy did, I've watched every snap from last season, in preparation. I'm ready to go.
The result of him watching every snap was, we should run there.
Exactly.
That's all I've got going on. Well, it's good to have you back. If anyone is new to the podcast and does not know Judah, I'll give him a quick introduction. He is a member of the PFF betting family, member of the printing press, blessed us with many a great pick last year, but probably the most notable are your same game parlays, which you put together better than anyone else out there. Build the narrative from scratch with data. You hit a big one last year. You could have hit two in the same day or week or whatever it was. But because of that, we love you. We appreciate you. But you've also brought a lot and did this every single week last year of live game betting kind of philosophy. You live bet every single Sunday and have a live stream that everyone should check out this coming season if you're able to do it. So Brad, did I miss anything there? About
no, that's the Judah breakdown. He's I think he's a hero to us all. He's really we've all used the word thesis now because of Judah. So at least I know I do. I catch myself saying thesis because of Judah. So that's his indelible mark on the pod.
That's far too kind. I think the key here is just the contrast of Mike McCarthy. Instead of running, we're going for the tails angles, the long shots.
Yes.
We're hitting
the damn ball.
That's right.
Throw the damn ball on Twitter is where you can find them. Okay, let's just get right into it. We have a full NFL season slate. My favorite thing about the fact that that the schedule gets released is that then you can put some lines on games. My second favorite thing is that you can also now look at the whole schedule and write a W or an L next to every game and go through the entire season and decide what the team's record should be. So NFL Live, thankfully, has content for the next couple of months. We are going to do something a little bit different. We're going to guess the lines here, then we'll take a look at what the lines are. I know they're out on DraftKings. I didn't check FanDuel. I know DraftKings has them. Any other books that you guys have seen these lines go up on?
Just those two.
I haven't seen anything, so I'm going to completely fresh air.
Here we go. We're going to start with the restoration of the roar. The Detroit Lions have made it, as evidenced by the fact that they are going into Kansas City to get bludgeoned to kick off the NFL season. We'll start with you, Brad. What did you make of this?
I have the Chiefs land a touchdown.
I got 6.5.
Okay. I tipped my hand there at the beginning. I have the Kansas City Chiefs by 8, and it is 6.5. So Judah, you nailed it. Brad, I think, what did you say? Touchdown?
Touchdown. I am seeing minus 120 on DraftKings, so kind of shaded towards that tutty. Yeah, I mean, the interesting thing here, not to overreact to one player, but, with the suspensions coming in Detroit, this is not a Jameson Williams game. I think he could have been, something of not an equalizer, but, give you those big plays to keep up with Kansas City's offense. Obviously, they're hanging the banner. Detroit should be hanging there, kept Green Bay out of the playoffs banner the following week, I think, in Detroit. But yeah, nevertheless, I'm staying away here, even though I had it, over that hook.
Yeah, total, by the way, 53.5. Judah, you nailed this one. What do you think?
I
I
think
mean,
it's a good line. I'm not touching this. Brad, kind of what you mentioned. I think the Chiefs defense actually is something to watch this year, especially at cornerback. Like Trent McDuffie and Joshua Williams both had great years in addition to L'Jarius Sneed. They're both like top 20 in our like preventing separation metric. I think that actually comes out against the Lions, which is a team that relies on speed from the wide receiver position. With that said, the Lions were a great offense last year. It's kind of an unknown how they're going to come out. It's still Jared Goff quarterback. The Chiefs are obviously still the dominant team. They should be, I think, touchdown favorites or whatever it is, 6.5, and I think that's a good line.
I will probably be betting a couple alt lines, but I will take the 7 in favor of Kansas City, and I will bet this. I think a couple of things that point towards this and why I like it. The Lions have played, as we've talked about, a lot of meaningless football and have been celebrated for doing relatively well in meaningless football games. Now, this one doesn't technically mean anything. However, this is the start to the season. So they're not out of the playoffs yet, right? This could actually be something that puts them on the map. And so I'm not really counting on Jared Goff in that situation. Shocking, I know. I think Kansas City will be very prepared. The Detroit defense has made a lot of improvements. And I think we loved what they did in free agency, Brad, but that's going to take time. I don't foresee that showing up against Kansas City. I think it will be good over the course of the year, but this defense got torched last year. And I don't see that all of a sudden just coming back together, especially with the additions they made during the draft. So I will take Kansas City. I've got a bet on the board. We go now to Pittsburgh. My San Francisco 49ers, led by the fearless Sam Darnold, facing Kenny Pickett and the Pittsburgh Steelers. Brad.
Yeah, I wasn't trying to price this with the quarterback, but nevertheless, because of that, I went only Steelers plus 2.5. Didn't go to the full field goal.
Wow, I've got Niners by 3.5.
I'm with you, Judah. I have Niners by 3.5 as well. It is 3. Plus 3 is minus 115. And minus 3 is minus 105. Is this the quarter? This has to be the quarterback stuff. Judah, what do you make the discrepancy based on?
I have no idea who's playing quarterback for this game. And honestly, I don't think it really matters. And I think the markets are kind of pricing that. It's just like, I think the Brock Purdy, whatever you want to call it, last year was proof of like Kyle Shanahan's going to put whomever at quarterback and they'll be fine. I think that's kind of what that pricing is.
Yeah, that makes sense.
I think it's entirely fair. I think going back to, if we're going to have a conversation of the quarterbacks in this game, if you don't really matter, and we don't know. I know last year it was kind of defenses were ahead of offenses. That was the big thing. And there were a lot of low scoring games early on. These two defenses are both just going to be probably in week 1 significantly ahead of these offenses. 42 is an interesting total. It's obviously low, but I do like that it's up to the touchdown number. I'm staying away from the game, but the under here is intriguing. If it is Sam Darnold, this could be like a 17-13, like Niners win type of game.
Yeah.
You're going to bet it, Judah?
I'll bet alts, I think, just because like if there's a pricing of Sam Darnold or even Brock Purdy, it's just like mediocre quarterback, but there's always that fat tail with Shanahan. I think that'll be pretty appealing.
We need a fat tail counter. We've got one. I think it's aptly used with Sam Darnold in tow. I'm going to lay off this one as well. I agree with your thought there, Judah. The Pittsburgh defense, I think, certainly will be far ahead of its offense. Will it be far ahead of the San Francisco offense? I think is an interesting question. They have a lot of continuity there in San Francisco. So I would, if they're healthy, I think it's definitely a spot for them. Houston, Baltimore. The Houston Texans putting all their chips on the table, trying to win a Super Bowl right away with Will Anderson and CJ Stroud. Going to Baltimore, who I don't know if you guys have heard this. Baltimore does well week 1. Brad, what did you make this?
Yep, the Ravens minus 10.
I have the Ravens 7.5.
Okay, we are all over the map here. I have the Ravens by 14.5. So Judah, you said minus 7.
I said 7.5.
7.5. And Brad, you were what? 10.5?
Just 10 flat.
10 flat. There you go. You guys got to fill it in the sheet. I can't do all of your jobs for you.
I'm in there.
Okay, let's start with you, Judah. You the line is 9. We are 7 points off. Talk to me about why you see
Yeah,
this as a
I think
touchdown as opposed to a possession.
there's a huge question mark about the Ravens offense this year. We haven't seen Lamar Jackson out of a Greg Roman system. I have no idea what it's going to look like. I have no idea what chemistry will have with his receivers. He's got 2 new guys coming in there. I also think the Texans are trying to win this year, which is not true of previous years. Yes, the Ravens are a much better team. I think that's reflective in the 7.5. But I'm not so sold on this offense. I think I kind of want to see it first. I need a little taste of what the offense is going to look like. Are they even going to run Lamar Jackson? He's been hurt 2 of the each the past 2 years. I have no idea.
Yeah, I mean, Houston's secondary, I'm a fan of. I mean, they added Shaq Griffin this week, but for more depth. But I do think they have a lot of top end players. But like their defensive line just isn't going to generate pressure, and so I totally hear you. Like, look, Todd Monken's going to want to air the ball out, and that'll be a very different approach to Greg Roman with more of a rushing approach and all those things. I guess I'm laying off, but I'm not surprised. It's out at 9. I kind of want to bet it. Part of me is though falling into love with the classic like Ravens are great in week 1, which is a stupid trend to bet on, but I am tempted.
It is a stupid trend to bet on. I think the trend that I would bet on is how bad the Houston Texans are. That's the trend that I would roll with. Now, I think to your point, Judah, there's a ton of question mark about the Ravens. There's a ton of question mark about the Texans too. So this is the first NFL head coaching game for DeMeco Ryans. It's also the first game for offensive coordinator Bobby Slowick. Now, I think both of those guys, former PFF Bobby Slowick, by the way, I think both those guys are going to be great. But in week 1 against Lamar Jackson, and to your point, Judah, now the Ravens haven't seen Lamar Jackson in this offense, but guess who else hasn't? The opposing team. So there is nothing you can do to prepare for the Ravens in this game, because I don't think really what Todd Monken will do with Lamar Jackson. But I do know this: Lamar Jackson versus CJ Stroud, I think on its own is like a 10-point difference. So I'll take Harbaugh in week 1 at home against a rookie coaching staff and roll with it. And I am betting that one. I just think it's going to be really, really tough potentially for CJ Stroud on the road in Baltimore. Look, a team that last year did get pressure at a decent rate. I think they're going to blitz the living hell out of him, and it is going to be a rude awakening for CJ Stroud.
And we know that he's not great under pressure. I'm talking about. I'm betting this with you also because Lamar Jackson also skipped a lot of offseason activities. His new contract that is not really. I mean, I guess he could do it, but he'll lose out on some money. I don't think it'd be a great look now that he got the big deal. So he might actually be more fresh or more ready in week 1 than historically with Greg Roman because he's going to actually be there for everything. Get chemistry with Odell, get chemistry with Zay, yada yada yada. Yeah, I lied. I'm hopping on this one too.
It's okay, Judah. We'll get you a Texans shirt and hat to wear week 1.
There you go. That's exactly the reputation I need, just to go for the Texan team. All right, I'll lay off here.
Here we go. Cincy and Cleveland. This is an interesting game for a lot of reasons. Brad, what'd you make this?
Browns plus 1.5 at home.
I've got Cincy minus 3.5.
Okay, I have Cincy minus 1.5. So Browns plus 1.5 at home. It is Browns getting 2.5. So I kind of exactly what I thought. I'll just start. I was tempted to go 3, and I thought if there's a 3 here, then there's going to be a lot of people taking the home dog with 3. So I figured they probably don't care as much about the teaser protection. It'll be fine. They'd rather have people tease that they get the full 3. So turns out that is what they did. It's 2.5. Now it's minus 110 to both sides. Judah, let's start with you.
Yeah, I think the Bengals were a top 5 team last year, and what we saw of Deshaun Watson was absolutely atrocious. I want to see it before I bet that. And even if he is good, I think the Cincinnati offense just has a ton of firepower. And even the massive question marks from last offseason, which is like, how is Joe Burrow going to deal with pressure? He didn't really face any pressure last year. That's a combination of the offensive line and his ability to get rid of the ball quick. I believe they faced pressure at the second lowest rate, just behind Tom Brady and the Bucs. I think the Bengals are just in a different tier of team. I think that should be reflective. With the 3, I'm taking the Bengals.
Yeah, I like it. Are you at all worried about Myles Garrett in this game against some question marks for Cleveland there, or for Cincy?
No, I think Burrow showed us last year he can get the ball out quick if he needs to. He can play both sides. So hold on to the ball if he needs to find his receivers. And if he needs to get rid of the ball quick, he'll have success doing so.
Yeah, I'm afraid to bet it with Watson in week 1, but I don't know. The teaser leg does intrigue me. I think Bengals probably win this game, but 8.5 at home for Cincinnati, or for Cleveland, excuse me, is enticing. Maybe I'll circle back and tease that later, but for now, I'm not betting it.
Yeah, Deshaun Watson is a thing or two about the teaser leg. I am not riding with Deshaun Watson in any way, shape, or form this year. I think he's going to be. I think it's going to be terrible. Yeah. Anyways, I like your angle there, Judah. Kind of jealous that I didn't stick with my 3, but alas. Question for you guys. So let's say that Deshaun Watson's through 5 weeks and we see the same guy that we saw last year, who was unequivocally worse than Jacoby Brissett with the same team around him. Think about like the F1 comparison, right? It's just slower in the same car the whole year. At what point do we start questioning whether he just sucks?
He's not going to stop playing. They'll fire Kevin Stefanski before he stops playing. I'll tell you that much.
Yeah, I will start to question whether or not he sucks, though.
Oh, like, well, yeah. Oh, for sure. Sorry. To answer the question directly, yes, I will also question that as well. But the results will not be him getting benched. It'll be a new head coach coming in the door.
Yeah. No, I totally agree with that.
How long are you guys giving him? So, like, I get that the Browns. I mean, to be fair, Jimmy Haslam will certainly ask his wife and daughters, right, their opinion before benching him, as he did before signing them. We know that. But how long will you guys give Deshaun Watson until you go, this dude's cooked?
Like a month.
I'd give it a little longer. I'd give it 6 weeks.
Yeah. It's there's levels to it, right? Like if he's like flat out like just cannot even play football, then like, a month. If he's just like middling, then probably longer. But I don't know.
The truth is it doesn't really matter. As you said, because like they're going to keep playing him. They have there's no really backup option.
I'm giving him 1 week. If he looks like crap week 1, I'm out. All right. Jacksonville, and he had a whole off season. What are you doing? Jacksonville, Indy. This has been the week 1 game for these two teams since the start of human history. It appears this one being played in the wonderful Indianapolis, city of Indianapolis. Brad, what'd you make this?
Colts +4.
I've got Jags -5.5.
I have Jags -7.5. So Brad, you nailed this one. It is 3.5. Judah, I guess I'll start with you here. You're somewhat similar to me in thinking this should be a bigger line.
Yeah, give me all the Jags here. I think like Trevor Lawrence over the second half of the season was a top 5 quarterback, especially if you look at what he did with the clean pocket. It's like the second best PFF grade without pressure, probably 4th best EPA. The dude turned the corner in the second half of the season. He even talked about kind of a mentality change midway through the season. So I do think that's not just like pinpointing a arbitrary point in time. Like that's something he pointed to. And the team just got a lot better. I think Calvin Ridley's going to come back and be a dominant wide receiver 1. I don't see why. Maybe he'll slow down a little bit after a couple of years out. He's still a terrific receiver. We shouldn't forget that he was one of the best in the league. And Trevor Lawrence, just what if he gets better from year 2 to year 3? I'm fully expecting that. The Colts, I don't even think Anthony Richardson will be playing this game. I see this as a project year for him. Give me the Jags.
I'm all over the Jags as well. I think maybe the line is shorter here because people are, responding to Cam Robinson getting suspended. Cam Robinson's been an average to above average tackle, both as a pass protector and a run blocker. Maybe like a 70 or so grade as a pass protector, but nevertheless, I think Walker Little is as good of a player. I guess starting a rookie and Anton Harrison on the right side isn't ideal, but the Colts defense, they have some dudes up front, particularly on the interior with DeForest Buckner. Haven't seen a ton yet from Kwity Paye, Dio Odengbo, like some of their young players that could become better, but their secondary is question mark city. I mean, particularly at corner. And we have Calvin Ridley, Christian Kirk, all those dudes. And then the last thing with Trevor Lawrence talking about pressure. I mean, his average time to throw last year was around 2.5 seconds, even less. For the second half of the season, it was like 2.35, something like that seconds, getting the ball out very, very quickly. I'm riding with the Jaguars here as well.
Yeah, sorry, that was my bad, Brad. I thought you said 3.5. You said 4.
Yeah.
So you're on the right side of the Lord on this beautiful Mother's Day. Shout out to all the moms out there. We haven't talked about the Jets yet, but certainly Zach Wilson. We'll talk about him. I think so. Brad, you'll remember this last year. There was one week, I can't remember which week it was, week 14, where I had like a discrepancy of like 4 or more points on like a bunch of games. And I was like, either I'm totally off or like I'm just betting them all. And I bet them all. I think I went 5-1 or something like that. Ended up, kind of being on the right side of history. By the way, all 3 of us, me, you, and Arjun, positive unit wise for guess the lines bets last year. So looking forward to doing that again this year. This to me feels similar. Anthony Richardson in his first game. Are people thinking he's going to come out and be dynamite? It's also the first game for a new coaching staff. So there's a ton, I think, of just unknowns here. And we know a lot about Jacksonville. So this makes absolutely no sense to me. I would be stunned if this stays at 3.5. And I'll just ask this question, which is, there's some question marks about the O-line for Jacksonville. Who exactly is going to be getting pressure on the edge for Indy?
No, right. That's the big thing. And Lawrence controls that very well. So
yeah, I'm not worried about it.
I want to know what odds. Yeah.
Jump in, Judah. I
want to know what odds I can get on Gardner Minshew starting this game, because I don't think it's going to be Anthony Richardson. I've seen this one before. I think that's exactly why they signed Minshew. They knew they were drafting a quarterback. They took a project guy. They have no intention of winning this year. I just want odds on Gardner Minshew week 1.
So that's interesting. If it's Minshew, do you feel differently at all, Brad?
No, because I think the thesis is just like the Jaguars are in a different class of team, and like we're going to see them kind of ascend. But like, I'd be like all over the Jags alts if it's Anthony Richardson.
So I agree. So I would be like less confident in Minshew having a higher floor, of course. And I actually do agree with you, Judah. I mean, not only like Shane Steichen brought him from Philly. This isn't like a random signing a bridge. Like this is bringing your bridge over from your prior team. So I think he starts as well. But yeah, it does not change my bet on the game.
I love Minshew, but no. Tampa Bay and Minnesota. In Minnesota, Brad, we'll start with you.
At Vikes -6.
Vikings -7.5.
I had the Vikings. I had the Vikings by 10.5. It is 7. I will start here. The Tampa Bay Buccaneers were held together by Tom Brady. Tom Brady no longer there. I don't think we can underestimate how terrible everything else was around Tom Brady. I like Todd Bowles. I think he was abysmal as a coach. I think that that Kevin O'Connell and that offense are going to destroy the Tampa Bay defense, which is generally aggressive, has been overly aggressive. You remember what Kevin O'Connell and Sean McVay did when they faced that defense in the playoffs with Matt Stafford at home in Minnesota. And who's playing quarterback for the Tampa Bay Buccaneers? It doesn't matter.
It'll be Baker. Yeah.
Yeah, put me out there. The difference between Tom Brady and whoever they're throwing out there is going to be so massive. I mean, so massive. Can you imagine what Mike Evans and Chris Godwin are going to be going through in this game? Like they're used to a quarterback like putting the ball on them when when they actually are open. Baker's going to be back there holding on the ball forever, and it's just going to be a disaster. So I am taking Minnesota here. Brad, you were on the other side of this. Talk to me.
Yeah, I mean, look, I agree. I mean, the drop off from Tom Brady to Baker is obviously astronomical. There's no arguing that. If you think Minnesota is going to score, then I kind of like the over 46.5 in this game. Because look, as bad as Baker is, I still have no faith in the Vikings defense. And the Bucks, like, they have Mike Evans and Chris Godwin and all these dudes. Like, I don't know. I just, it's interesting to me. I'm not going to bet the Buccaneers here. I think they are going to be a pretty bad team this year, but I don't know. Like, I don't think the Vikings should be laying a touchdown against many opponents this year.
I completely disagree there. And especially if you're just looking at this matchup, I am not buying the Vikings defense at all. I will buy their kind of edge players, Daniel Hunter and Marcus Davenport. And who in the world is playing on the offensive line for the Bucks? It's like Tristan Wirfs, great. Everyone else is absolutely atrocious. I don't even know half the guys who are playing on their O-line. And like Tom Brady was the only thing keeping that offensive line semi-intact last year because he was getting rid of the ball very quickly. Put in Baker Mayfield, who's the exact opposite of that. I don't like the over because I see this as like sack after sack after sack after sack. And Tampa Bay might not get anything going on offense. Also, their coaching staff is just like completely unwilling to adapt to anything. We know they're just going to run the ball, 3rd and long. I just see this as run, sack. Give me all the Vikings I can get.
I love it. Yeah. To your point here on pff.com, by the way, promo code forecast, it's 25% off a PFF Plus subscription. You can see one of the things that I look at when I'm doing this and looking at every game. You can look at the matchup between the two teams, see the PFF grades. To your point, Tristan Wirfs, 7th highest graded tackle in the NFL last year among 81. You look down the rest of the line. You have Filer, 54.6 PFF grade. Jensen, 28.9 PFF grade. Gadecki, 46.7 PFF grade. And look, the legend himself, Cody Mauch. I don't know if he's gonna hold the fort together, but I don't think that will be the case out of North Dakota State this season. So going to be a rough day for Baker Mayfield.
I think it's also just an interesting point. It seems to me like there's almost an overcorrection from last year with Minnesota, where everyone it's like, oh, they overachieved. They're really so much worse. I don't see why Minnesota won't be better, especially on offense. Like we generally see in the second year of coordinators, maybe a little more chemistry and dynamism. I think like replacing Adam Thielen with Jordan Addison is going to make a big difference. Justin Jefferson's still amazing, and we know exactly what Kirk Cousins is. And I think almost that kind of floor and certainty will play well in the NFC this year. That's at least my
Kirk Cousins, best quarterback in the NFC. Arizona
on the list.
Yeah, it's a hell of a list. Arizona, Washington. We'll spend 30 seconds on this game. Brad.
Yeah, Washington -4.5.
Yeah, I've got the same thing.
I have Washington -3. It is 5.5. I'll just say this. I am not betting either side of this game, even though I was a couple of points off here. I made it -3 because I think both these teams are, completely terrible and you don't know. I can see why it's 5.5 though, thinking about just how terrible Arizona was. I think in my mind, I thought it was Kyler playing in this game, but it probably will not be Kyler playing in this game. So you guys have anything here?
Yeah, the Colt McCoy, Sam Howell matchup at quarterback is going to be a dynamo. I think the Cardinals might not score in this game. Like, I mean, I know defense, obviously it's, tied to the quarterback play. And so you add that in as well. I think Washington on paper could have the best defense in the NFL this year. I'm not going to bet them because it's Sam Howell, but this game is going to be disgusting.
I don't bet games with Colt McCoy and Sam Howell as the quarterbacks.
Look, I'll never say never. Carolina, Atlanta. This one in Atlanta. Brad?
At Atlanta -3.5.
Yeah, I got the Red Stallions at 2.5.
Yeah, great. It is 2.5. I had the Red Stallions, as aptly named by Tennessee Titans fans, at 3 as a 3-point favorite. As I mentioned, it's 2.5. Brad, you're on the other side at -3.5. You laying it with the Stallions?
Oh no. I kind of part of the thinking was like a rookie quarterback first start, but then as I'm sitting there, I'm thinking if Desmond Ridder and Bryce Young were playing college football a year ago, we would take Bryce Young
Right.
as a 10-point better player, So I've kind of talked myself out of it as I'm thinking through it. Nah, I'm staying away.
I can't bet this game. Just too many unknowns.
Yeah.
I'm with you guys there. I did think it was interesting though. I Desmond Ridder as a favorite is a choice. By the way, Atlanta -2.5 is -120, so kind of right there at 3 if you were thinking about this one or if you had an angle. I'm tempted by Carolina as a teaser leg. We can come back to that later, but Frank Reich, I want to bet on Frank Reich when I can. And I think against Arthur Smith, getting 8.5 as a part of a teaser leg could be that time. Tennessee in New Orleans to face the Saints, Brad.
It's Saints -4.
That's Saints -3.
I'm with you, Judah. I had Saints -3. It is 3.5, -110 to both sides. So, Brad, you're on the Saints side of this. What do you think?
Yeah, I mean, the tough part here too is I think it will be Ryan Tannehill. I think there's an outside chance they get into camp and just say, we stink. Let's just give Will Levis this job and just save $27 million on Ryan Tannehill, which would obviously make me like the Saints a lot more in this situation. I need to get a bet on the board, but there's too many unknowns in this one as well.
I think I like the Saints. Reluctantly, Tennessee was maybe the worst pass defense last year. I don't think they got any better. I just really like the Saints receivers. I think Rashid Shaheed's the real deal. Chris Olave, obviously, last year. And I think that's the perfect matchup for a Tennessee defense that's really poor in the secondary. And we also, as you kind of said, with Ryan Tannehill, we know what the Titans are on offense at this point, and it's not very good. They also have absolutely no one on the offensive line. I take kind of the certainty that the Saints have been. They're just delaying their floor of 7, 8, 9, 10 wins for as long as they can, and I think it holds this year, and I'm taking it week 1.
Yeah, I am tempted to get with you on that, Judah. Vrabel, I have respect for Vrabel, and I have no respect for Derek Carr. And that combination does worry me a little bit. I do think the Saints offense could be legit. I mean, they have some weapons there. Like if Carr has one of those years where he, puts it all together, then like the weapons are there. I think Olave is amazing. And to your point, Tennessee is garbage, but there's just something about Vrabel. I want to see that team before I completely fade them.
I'll just real quick. I would almost lean the over. It's 42 because look, the Saints defensive line also is going to be, I think, one of the worst defensive lines in football. Love Cam Jordan, borderline Hall of Famer, but he's 34 and he's the best player in the front 7 by a country mile. And so they can just run the piss out of the ball down their throat, which I think they will do. Saints have basically no interior defensive line. Sign a bunch of like rotational players to be starters in free agency. And then I agree that the Titans were dead last and people passed a lot or whatever it was. Didn't get any better at all. It scares me because again, like it smells like a terribly low scoring game, but over 42 is intriguing.
I do like that. That's a good call out. One of the lowest totals. I think the only lower one that we have is a 40.5. Arizona, Washington. All right, Philly and New England in New England. Brad,
Patriots +4.
Yeah, I got Patriots +4.5.
Oh my God. I need to get my head in the game here. I had the Eagles by 7. It is 4.5. I guess this tells you what I think of Mac Jones. Look, I'm not anticipating a Super Bowl hangover, clearly, for Philly. Now, I don't think that they necessarily improved, but the Patriots did what they've been doing for a while, which is like overspend on like middling to average players. And I just don't know that recipe is something that I'm particularly keen on. The only thing that I will point out here is this is like Tom Brady Memorial Day for the Patriots. And so that place will be going absolutely bananas. And I'm assuming a lot of those players will be going crazy as well and like put their best, foot forward, I guess. But Philly is just like every position. I don't know if Christian Gonzalez changes that for you, Brett, but Jesus.
He might. No, I agree with everything you said there. I think the interesting thing here to me, the over under 46 is interesting. Maybe looking towards the under. In a general sense, though, the biggest lesson we're going to learn from these first couple of weeks, and we should wait longer, but like there's a lot of coaching changes that I think are fascinating. We touched on how bad Byron Leftwich was. Does Dave Canales, I know he's working with Baker Mayfield and Kyle Trask, but like, does he stop going run, pass on every single series and maybe make a difference there? I do think for a fact, Bill O'Brien from Matt Patricia, we're going to see a noticeable difference. Not sure if it happens right away in week one, but nevertheless, that's kind of a throwaway comment. The main thing for me is that under is kind of intriguing. You mentioned the Tom Brady aspect. The Philly, like, they didn't get worse, but you lose Isaac Samala. I'm not really sure what they're going to be doing at right guard this year as of yet. Do they start their second round center from last year in Cam Jurgens? I don't really know. Is there a Super Bowl hangover to a degree? And on the flip side, yeah, Mac Jones is not scoring many points against this Eagles defense. So I don't know, the under 46 kind of sticks out a little bit.
Yeah, I think I like that under 46 as well. I don't think I'm taking either side of this game. The Patriots just have this way where you look at their roster in the beginning of the season, you're like, who are these guys? Or like, this team isn't great. And then you look back at week 9 and you're like, oh, he's having a great year. I feel like that's just like the Patriot way in some respect. So I have a little bit of respect towards the Patriots side here. I mean, look, the Eagles are the better team. I'll definitely be on the alts kind of to reflect that thesis, but I'm sticking with the under if I'm making any bet right now.
I like that under. I can get on board with that. I also don't want to be the one person that doesn't see the Tom Brady, rallying cry, getting them past the Eagles in this game in some weird fashion. Maybe you could play quarterback for them. That's the key. All right, Rams Seahawks in Seattle. Brad.
I had Seattle minus 6.5.
Same.
I had Seattle by 5. Now, what's interesting is I started with Seattle by 7, and it is 5.5. I came down to 5, and I'll tell you why I did. I was like, I think the Rams are going to suck. I think the Rams should be tanking, but you can't coach your bets. And everyone on the Rams thinks they're going to go win a Super Bowl, like and compete for a Super Bowl. Like, I think it's going to take. Like, I think they're going to go out week 1 and be like, look, this is our chance to show people we're legit. And it may take a couple of weeks for them to go, yeah, we actually really suck. So that's why I ended up at 5. It is 5.5. You guys are both on the other side of that. Are you rocking with the Sea Chickens?
Yeah, I'm rolling with the Seahawks. They're my team this year, I guess. I've adopted them. I mean, the Rams, they got worse this offseason. The offensive line, both trenches, probably the worst. Bottom 5 offensive line, bottom 5 defensive line in the NFL. So I think Gino will have plenty of time. You never want to count rookies as doing too much, but I think honestly, Devin Witherspoon and Jackson Smith and Jigba among the rookie class will make a decent impact, but also just their free agency. I mean, you go out and sign a guy like Draymond Jones. You had a second round edge rusher and Derek Hall from Auburn. You have, depth along the defensive line. And I think they're just going to throw a bunch of things at them. And Matt Stafford's going to be running for his life. And then on the flip side, I think Geno Smith's going to be sitting in the pocket for 5 seconds if he wants to. Just triple team Aaron Donald, and no one else is going to come even sniff you if you're Geno. I'm rolling with this one for sure.
Yeah, I think similar bet. I'm rolling with the Seahawks here for many of the reasons you just mentioned. I mean, Geno Smith was terrific throwing the ball deep. His receiver was going to have plenty of time to get open against some bad corners. I mean, the Rams have 3 good players at this point. We don't even know what Stafford's like. It's Stafford, Kupp, and Donald, and nobody else. I see a Seahawks team that got better on offense and defensively had a whole bunch of rookies who played really well in year 1. You like to think that's going to continue in year 2. I see this as a complete mismatch of teams. I'm on the Seahawks.
Yeah, I do agree with you guys. And Brad, we are co-parenting with the Seahawks this year. I think a legit, NFC, I would say contender. And I think they can win that division. Like, that's how bad the NFC is. But all righty. Brad, I don't know if this is going to be good news or bad news, how you'll view the what this line looks like. But I was thinking about it as I was guessing it. The Green Bay Packers are going into Chicago to play on opening day, which for the past however many years has been a assured sign, sign of Green Bay starting 1-0, because their quarterback has quite literally owned that team. Times they are changing. Brad, would you make this spread?
Yeah, I knew I bullseyed this spread because it's the most correct spread on the board by so much. Yeah, Bears minus 2.5 at home.
Yeah.
I've got this as a pick.
Ooh,
Okay.
I have Bears by 2.5. I laughed as I made the Bears a favorite, but I did so nonetheless. So it is 2.5. It is minus 110 to both sides. Judah, you I think are probably have some good thoughts. And why did you make this a pick?
I just think there's still a lot of question marks about Justin Fields and the Bears. The team, still finished at the bottom of the league last year. I think the flash of kind of upside we all saw with Jordan Love might be sticking in bettors' heads. That Sunday Night Football game, and I think there's just kind of there's a history there of Green Bay Packers starters coming in and playing well. I'm not sure if I believe any of that narrative at all. I think I'm kind of bullish on the Bears this season. Did not spend in necessarily the positions of the most importance, but they're still probably better on the field. And DJ Moore should certainly help this offense. I have no idea what Jordan Love's going to come out. I'm not comfortable betting this game in week 1. If I had to, I'd probably lean towards the Bears, but I'm not betting this.
So yeah, Judah, you mentioned, being bullish. You're referring to, on the pod a couple months ago, we did the season win totals. I think you said even maybe an alt over on the Bears, kind of really trying to drive that narrative. Are you going to then play a wait and see approach on spreads, or do you think the time to strike, obviously not this week, but like strike early before they get respect from the market, and then you can't bet them on a week to week basis?
Oh, I'll be betting this in like the same game parlay market for sure. Just like whether it's Fields rushing or just kind of betting on the thesis of like the receivers playing well, but I can't bet a line, right? That's like reflecting of so much more of what's going to happen in a game. But yes, I'll be attacking early and often in the same way that like I was just looking back at kind of last year, and I was very bullish on like Tua and the Dolphins receivers. So like I hit on a bunch of same game parlays early, and you like look back at the pricing. Had you priced knowing what would happen in 18 weeks, had you like repriced week 2, week 6, it would look very different. I think we might be having a similar scenario with the Bears this year, where I can just be rolling those same game parlays out.
I like the sound of that, or like the sound. Jesus, I like the sound of that. I do think it's interesting. Both passing offenses here, there's going to be so many question marks, and I guess I weirdly feel more confident in the Bears and Justin Fields than I do the Packers. I mean, that's just kind of crazy to say, but I do. I am intrigued as a teaser leg here. The Packers getting out to 8.5, still with some question marks in Chicago. So I could see teasing them with the Panthers. I don't know. I think that's the one angle on this line that I would go with. All right. Miami and Los Angeles Superchargers in SoFi Stadium. Brad.
Chargers minus 1.5.
Got this one as a pick 'em also.
I had the Chargers by 2.5. It is Chargers by 2.5. My thought here was like, you make this 3. I know people are taking the Dolphins. I think they should be taking the Dolphins. But now at 2.5, I am intrigued by the Chargers as a teaser leg here. So I do
Dolphins?
like they.
Sorry, you mean the Dolphins teaser leg?
Yes. Sorry, Dolphins.
Go ahead. Didn't mean to cut you off.
Yeah. No. Thank you for saving me. I do really like the Dolphins as a teaser leg here. Just because it's the Chargers is what I was kind of trying to say. Like, Chargers going to go blow out the Dolphins in week 1, really? Okay. Sure. Let's see that happen. I just don't have that much confidence in the Chargers being that team, especially after the way that they've like continuously underperformed their expectations. So I like the Dolphins. The teaser like, pick them for you, Judah. What do you think?
Yeah, I have much more faith in, I think, Kellen Moore and the Chargers this year, especially with like conservatism closing out games. This is actually an interesting anecdote. And something that played a lot last year, which is the Cowboys were the most aggressive team in the league towards the end of games last year. They had like a very high pass rate over expected towards the end of games, and they really pushed up scores, which did help our bankrolls a little bit. And I actually kind of want to fade all those Chargers angles. With that said, like, just like, would it surprise you if we saw, week 7 Tua, or would it surprise you if we saw just like a horrific Dolphins offense? Like, I could see both sides of that game playing out. I can. Like, I have all the faith in McDaniel and these receivers, but Tua's he's a huge question mark. I don't know how he's gonna step back in the pocket knowing that like one more hit might end his career. Just like mentally, I don't know if you can kind of get past that. I want to see it on the field, but like all angles are possible in this game, and like you play this out 100 times, I see this game going in every such direction. That's why I got it as a pick 'em.
I'm chasing the fat tails. I might take a Dolphins alt like big time here. I love Miami in this spot. I think their defense is going to be much better than Chargers. And I hear you on 2 on week 1. The Chargers defense is going to be bad, but I think Vic Fangio is going to just be cooking his mentee and Brandon Staley has so much talent over there. And then the offensive side of the ball, I think bringing Isaiah Wynn, I think that was today, to play some tackle was smart. Obviously love the receivers and all those things as well. I just think they're a better football team. I'll be teasing them as well. But yeah, I might find like a Dolphins minus, whatever a good alt could be out there, and have that be kind of something I'm chasing in week 1.
Yeah, the Fangio Staley storyline is a good one. I think I'm going to do a little Packers Dolphins teaser. Total on this 149.5. Don't love teasing games with high totals, as we've talked about a lot. You get a much better deal if you are teasing something with a low total, because the chances of a low scoring game having a spread within 8 points are higher than a high scoring game having a spread within 8 points, as I'm sure you guys can understand out there, but worth mentioning. Raiders and the Denver Broncos, mercifully not in prime time, although they do have some primetime games this year, which kind of surprised me. Love for Sean Payton there. Your former coach, Brad. What'd you make this one?
Yeah, Broncos minus 2.5.
Yep, same thing.
I had the Broncos by 3.5. It is 3.5. You guys are on the other side of 3. You betting this one?
So it's such funny. It reminds me. There was a pod we did a while ago where you were talking up the Raiders, and I kind of let it slide. And Judah was like, "I couldn't disagree more." And I got yelled at in the YouTube chat. They were like, "Brad, you're a pussy for not disagreeing with George," because I've made it clear on Twitter that I think the Raiders had the worst offseason in the NFL. So, and I was a coward on the pod. Anyway, that being said, I'm still afraid to take them getting 3.5 points. But if I was going to bet this, it would be the Raiders.
I can't touch this. There's just there's a lot of respect for Wilson and Peyton, and like, you got to see it. Guy was awful last year. Like, the Broncos were horrible.
They were. All right, MC Hammer, can't touch it. I had this right on the number. I'm not going to bet it either side. I do think if I had to take a side, it would certainly not be the Denver Broncos winning by more than 3 points. I'll put it that way. And the only reason that, by the way, I went out to 3.5 was there are a lot of question marks for the Raiders. I think that, there's a solid chance that McDaniel's just terrible, and that Jimmy G, by the way, his first game without Kyle Shanahan, who the hell knows, right? We saw those games with the Patriots of old, and everyone sort of thinks that because of that, he and McDaniels are going to be just fine. I think that's really reaching, like really stretching your arms out there to try and make something out of nothing. So I kind of withhold my thoughts on the Raiders until we see a couple of games there. Sunday night, most predictable thing on planet Earth was the Dallas Cowboys being on Sunday night to open up the season. They, in fact, are. It is Cowboys and Giants. It reminds me, and you guys may remember this, there might be some OGs who have listened to the PFF forecast for a while, but the first ever lock of the week was when Eric and I faded Eli Manning and the Giants against the Cowboys on Sunday Night Football. And Giants fans were livid, absolutely livid. And of course, that was the year that the wheels fell off for Eli Manning. and Dallas covered. So this brings back fond memories. Brad, would you make the spread?
G-Man getting a field goal.
Yeah, I've got Dallas -3.5.
I have the Dallas Cowboys favored by 3. So New York +3 here. It is 2.5.
So we're all on the same side here.
Yeah, we all rolling with the Cowboys.
Judah, you went over the 3. What do you think?
Yeah, I think Dallas should be better this year. I think like they really lacked in their secondary weapons. And I think Brandon Cooks still has it. He was like the 6th best receiver at separating last year. He's still got some legs. The Giants way overachieved. Everyone knows that. That's been talked ad nauseum, but I don't really think that's being kind of priced into this week 1 line. The Cowboys pass rush is still ferocious. They should have an edge there over the Giants offensive line, which still has a lot of question marks. I like Dallas with just a far superior passing game. Give me the 3.5.
I completely agree. As a bet for me as well. Also, I'll tell you this. I know we poke fun at our guy Mike McCarthy here and there. I don't think they'll be as aggressive as they were last year. You mentioned Kellen Moore, especially late in games, really throwing the football. Mike McCarthy has never had, and yes, he's had Aaron Rodgers and then Dak Prescott, but he's always been pretty high on the pass rate compared to game script and pass rate over expected. He's not a guy. I think some of what he's saying was kind of just talking. I'm sure late in games are going to try to run the football and bleed things out and play a lot of good defense, but also they don't even have a running back that can do that on the roster right now. So I'm kind of selling that in there. I think he's kind of bullshitting, to be honest. Like, Tony Pollard doesn't bleed out football games for you. Deuce Vaughn does not bleed out football games for you. And Ronald Jones sure as hell does not bleed out football games for anyone. So I'm not even sure if I buy it. I think he's kind of bullshitting all of us. Anyway, I think I think they might route them in this game.
Well, it's a good point. I was actually going to bring up the point around if they do run the ball more this year, at least they have a running back that doesn't suck, right?
Yeah.
So like Tony Pollard is an explosive guy, but to your point, where they have fewer resources at running back and more at receiver. So to me, It points to an opportunity to throw the ball. But to me, this is more about my thesis. I will say that word, that the Giants are just not all it's cooked up to be. And I think we are going to look back and we'll be talking next year when the season is over, and we're going to be laughing or what's off that the New York Giants paid Daniel Jones to be their quarterback. If you can't, here's the thing. When you are on a rookie contract, it is such a huge advantage. All of the supporting cast around you is better. If you can't look good in that situation, it's only getting worse. It ain't getting better. Right? It's not like all of a sudden he's going out there and pulling a Josh Allen now at age, whatever it is, 20, 28, that's not happening. So for people clinging on to that's going to happen, it ain't going to happen. And the supporting cast around him is not great. And it's not going to be getting better over time because they're going to be paying him. So I think that starts here. And I like Dable. This is not a Dable. I remember we faded Joe Judge quite a bit because he was a complete idiot. I think Dable is sharp. I think he's just got a really tough situation here with, again, you're paying $1 million to go get a Chevy, whatever the hell the Chevys are. I don't know what's the new Chevy Cruze or whatever.
Yeah.
But I don't think they're going to be very good.
Yeah. This game I feel like has flashes of like a Kevin Ogletree coming out of nowhere for Dallas to beat the Giants. Maybe that's just a picture of Sunday Night Football week 1 of my youth. It's like Jalen Tolbert's going to come out and have 70 yards and a touchdown.
But it's not a shot from the depths.
It's no, yeah. It's the Giants, 5th receiver coming out and making a play. It's a Cowboys one.
No, the Giants just didn't the Cowboys, I think, got better this offseason than the Giants did. I'm not even sure it's close. I mean, yes, it's probably not long-term stuff. I still believe in Brandon Cooks. I still believe in Stephon Gilmore, honestly, as well. I think the Giants offensive line, they have Andrew Thomas and 4 other players. So the Cowboys will just put, one guy over on Andrew Thomas and then load up everywhere else. The Giants secondary has Adoree Jackson and a bunch of questions. I love Deonte Banks, but his first game as a rookie. Yeah, I just think Dallas is a better football team at almost every spot on the field.
This is this is a big season for Dallas, right? They underperform in a shitty NFC. You can say bye-bye to McCarthy and probably a lot of other players on the hot seat. Monday Night Football, Buffalo and New York, the Jets, Aaron Rodgers. This is Monday night, correct?
Yep.
Yeah. Okay. I wasn't sure if they'd said it or not, but it is confirmed. Monday Night Football is a great Monday Night Football game. Don't have a lot of them there. I think this is a sign, by the way, that like ESPN, they obviously go and they'd had complete clown shows hosting their games for a while. I think getting a game like this that could have easily been, I mean, this could have been a Sunday night game, right? This game will rate remarkably well. The fact that they got this game, I think, speaks to Monday Night Football probably getting a little more love from the NFL because they're like a real production, and getting some better games going forward. Brad, would you make this?
I'd pick them here.
Same.
I had the New York Football Jets getting 1.5 points. They are getting 1.5 points. Both of you guys on the other side of that. Start with you, Brad.
Yeah, so I said, and my thought was neutral field. The Bills probably are better by 1.5, and then I just, good old MetLife in New Jersey made it a pick 'em. There is a lot of turnover, a lot of new things. So it's like, first game for Rodgers, obviously first game for Nathaniel Hackett, which kind of scares me a little bit, but I'll come back to it. Maybe I'm wrong. I don't view the Bills as much of a juggernaut. They're a good team. There'll be a playoff team. They might win the AFC East. If not, they'll be a wild card, but like, it's week 1, so I get that, but I don't think they should be laying points at well, first of all, the Jets beat them. They beat them once last year and should have beat them twice last year with Zach Wilson and Mike White. And again, not to, extrapolate much from that, but I'm leaning towards probably my guy, Aaron Rodgers. Maybe even I'll tease Aaron Rodgers and the Miami Dolphins potentially.
Yeah. I think I'm with Brad here that the Bills kind of peaked in early of last year. They weren't that good over the second half of the season. Granted, like maybe Josh Allen was hurt, but they still have a bunch of flaws, namely like they have no one after Stephon Diggs. They didn't fix that in the offseason. There are a lot of question marks on this Bills team. This offensive line's not great. Granted, the Jets defense probably won't sustain the same level of success, but like this is a huge upgrade, right? Like the delta of going from Zach Wilson or Mike White to Aaron Rodgers is not the same as kind of any other quarterback upgrade. And like going from someone who's just so bad to even if Aaron Rodgers is like 95% of what he was even last year, that's a huge upgrade. I'm taking the Jets here. I think the Bills are not the same team, and they're being priced as kind of this dominant team using the entirety of the 2022 data. As opposed to, I think we should be looking towards kind of the second half where their weaknesses kind of started to show. And I don't think they're that great of a team.
The one thing they could do is maybe get after Aaron Rodgers with a pass rush, but Von Miller is not. There's no chance Von Miller's playing in this game. If he is, he's not going to be Von Miller. And then, yeah.
And but by the way, that's exactly when the defense kind of collapsed. Like they went from generating quick pressure at a top 5 rate to at a bottom 5 rate right after Von Miller was hurt. And that changed everything for them.
Yeah. You remember week 1, last year we watched the Bills. Were they on Sunday night?
Yeah.
Was that? Yeah.
Bills Rams.
And we're like, oh my God, this defensive line is amazing, right? They didn't blitz and they got pressure nonstop. And to your point, Von Miller is a really good football player. And he goes out and all of a sudden it's super average. I love the Jets teaser leg. My favorite teaser leg by a country mile. I could see them covering this teaser leg with Zach Wilson, right? Like that's how much faith I have in what I think is a really well-rounded Jets team and a Bills team that is getting, you talk about the Rams as being like 3 guys and a bunch of scrubs. The Bills aren't at that level, but it is close to Josh Allen, Stephon Diggs, and then like a bunch of guys that you're not ecstatic about. And so, I really like the Jets in this spot. And I don't think I would be as worried. I would be worried about the continuity thing if it weren't, Hackett and Rodgers, kind of just repairing together. So, cool. We made it through the entire week 1 slate. I got to ask you, Judah, of these games, do you have any early SGP thoughts?
Early SGP thoughts. I think the Bears one that we talked about before, just like, I don't know if it's going to be a combo of Fields running and some of the deep plays. That's one that I'm eyeing early. Maybe Jacksonville also. I think we'll see if Calvin Ridley's not priced as a wide receiver 1. I'm going to take a bet on that being the case, especially against a really weak Colts secondary. But I haven't done, this is a long time. We'll dive in. I can't wait to, build some more same game parlays as we get closer.
We'll get in the lab. I'm excited. For this season. It's going to be a lot of fun. I think the Chicago one is interesting. I was kind of looking at a few others. I mean, it'd be interesting to see what the Cleveland prices are. I think about that kind of like correlation around what people would see if the Browns win this game big, it's like a running thing, but they're going to want to show off Deshaun Watson if he can get hot, right? Like, I think that would be interesting. For anyone that's willing to bet Deshaun Watson, that won't be me, but just saying, is an interesting one. Brad, anything else that catches your eye here week one?
No, we're still so far out.
Fair.
Cleveland, I agree with you on that one. And then also just Baltimore for me too. If I get maybe thinking that they're not going to be great, Todd Monken could also come back in, not a first-time coordinator, I think a third-time coordinator, and just try to just air the absolute piss out of the ball in week one and go nuts.
Yeah, I'm also realizing now there's definitely one that I hinted at while giving the breakdown of the Vikings Bucks game, but I would love a sack parlay here, sack and Tampa Bay under, kind of similar to what we almost hit on Thanksgiving with the Giants and Cowboys. That's one of my favorite builds, and I think we might get a shot at that in week one.
We only have a few months to go. All right.
Don't remind me.
If you want to get involved, by the way, the best place to do that, obviously, listening to the podcast, sharing it with your friends that you have out there that are looking to get involved in a little betting. Best thing to bet is with some friends. So we've got a good group in the Printing Press Discord. You can find that link in the description of the podcast. Also, hit us up on Twitter. We'll send it over to you. But I mean, people have just been printing money in there. Because of the hard work of Brad, Arjun, Judah. The draft is always super lucrative, but guys in there are doing research on the Oscars. Maybe Judah will drop some of his baseball knowledge in there. You never know. Whatever it takes to get through the off season. And of course, once we get into football season, it'll be an absolute delight. So go get yourself involved there and get yourself ready for the 2023 season. Before we get out of here, PGA Championship. Brad, well-known golf enthusiast, up-and-coming golfer himself. You were so humble. Most people would want to brag about their golf accomplishments. You went your lowest number PR, right, a couple weeks ago. Didn't even mention on the pod. I would have been out here. We'd have led the podcast off with that. I would have recounted shot for shot what that looked like. But that's not what you're about. You're about feeding the people here with some PGA Championship insights. Talk to us.
Yeah, I won't mention I had a putt for eagle. I didn't make it, but I had it. Oh yeah. A tap-in birdie, no big deal. All right, anyway. So, and then I played Friday, and I had probably the worst round of my life. So, anyway, it's at Oak Hill in New York and Rochester. The whole angle here is super long course and a brutal course. There might be the winner might be -2 in this weekend. It's a 7,400 yard course with only 2 par 5s. The average par 3 is over 200 yards. The average par 4 is about 450 yards. It's a brutal setup. So driving is going to be huge here. Strokes gained off the tee is massive. The rough is super deep and thick. They were showing videos, guys walking around just dropping a ball from their hand, and you couldn't even see the ball, like it was buried in this deep rough. So got to be accurate, got to get off the tee. And I think if you have decent approach shots, can put the ball close, that is going to work in your favor. So a couple thoughts here. So our guy, he hasn't come up for us yet, but this is a Cameron Young course. He hits absolute bombs off the tee. He is pretty good in the approach as well. He's top 10 in strokes gained off the tee and top 20 in approach shots. Scotty Scheffler, who was very good this past week at the Byron Nelson. Also, I mean, obviously Scotty Scheffler, he's probably the best player in golf, but does line up very well here. 2 more players. Joaquin Niemann, I like a lot here. Very good off the tee. The skinny guy can absolutely bomb it, and good around the green as well, which if you're going to have some chip shots in this deep rough, like, he's skilled in that area. An avoid, Justin Spieth had a wrist injury, did not play at the Byron Nelson this past week. His odds are still like way up there, and he missed a hometown Texas tournament. And then everyone's going to fall in love with it. Rory McIlroy is a member at this course because his wife is from Rochester, New York. Yes. So it does line up well for him. Like the course is with his skill set, but I think you're just not going to get a good price here because of all those narrative things. So I missed one more guy, and Victor Hovland as well. So the four guys that I'm looking to, build some DraftKings lineups around, put some bets in around. We'll obviously get more into head-to-heads and more of the niche markets, the first-run leader, all that. It's not out yet, but guys that I'm looking right now that I like to win this matchup or win this tournament, excuse me. Cameron Young, Joaquin Niemann, Victor Hovland, and Scotty Scheffler is just the best player in the world right now.
I like it. What's Niemann's odds? He's got to have some long odds. Huh?
It's a great question. I probably should have looked at that first. I was just so 30, deep in the weeds 40, of data golf.
50-1. He's got to have some really good odds. I do like Niemann. Cam Young, I think, is another great call. And maybe we weren't wrong at the Masters, Brad. We were just early on
correct
Cam Young. That's what it is. Judah, you betting any of the NBA, NHL, any of the sports that we want to talk about on this podcast?
You know what? We'll give people need something that's going to last them through September. We're going to go with the Mariners plus 600 to win the AL West. Yeah, we need more baseball on this podcast. Look, you want to sell the Astros, George. I know you do. The Astros are a shell of their former selves. They've got two good hitters in Kyle Tucker and Yordan Alvarez, and then a bunch of righties who don't strike out a lot. Not a very good offense. Their starting pitching is nowhere of what it used to be. They've got basically two good pitchers. And the Seattle Mariners right now have an emerging rotation. Jared Kelenic, rip in peace for my New York Mets, is looking like an MVP candidate. I like the Mariners. There's a lot of kind of projection of what the Astros have done in the past and their former production. I don't really see it this year. And I think we're going to look back and, as week one's happening, and we're going to be talking about the Mariners and their 5 or 6 game lead in the AL West, and be like, I gave this at plus 600 May 14th.
I can tell you what we won't be talking about, which is baseball.
That's how desperate we are.
Just to give it a shot, I'm throwing some on the Mariners here. I will watch 0 Mariners games. You let me know if that bet cashes, okay?
Yeah, yep. You update us every month on the pod. Let us know. Because I'll throw it in too, but I will not pay attention to it. Real quick, Joaquin Niemann's 90-1. So
let's go.
Yep.
That would be delightful. All right, Joaquin Niemann, the Seattle Mariners. That's why we come to this podcast. Thanks for hanging out. We'll see you guys on Wednesday. Love you. Peace.